I wasn't looking for a family when I met her. I was 30, living alone in Denver, managing a tech support team, and mostly fine with the quiet. That changed one Saturday at a mutual friend's cookout. She walked in late, balancing a pie in one hand and a toddler on her hip, like some force of nature who didn't know she could cause storms. Her name was Rachel. She had this calm confidence, graceful, sharp-witted, and warm in a way that felt earned, not performed. Her son, Eli, clung to her at first, but by the end of the day he was tugging on my sleeve to show me his toy truck. That did something to me. Rachel and I started texting the next day. Our first date was simple, burgers and live jazz downtown. But it felt like stepping into a story I hadn't realized I wanted to write. She told me early on that Eli's dad left when he was a baby. I remember thinking how strong she had to be. How she deserved someone who would stay. I wanted to be that man. In a few months, we were spending almost every evening together. I'd never felt more certain about someone. I wasn't just falling for her. I was falling for the idea of us. Rachel and I got engaged on a snowy night in January. We'd gone up to Estes Park for the weekend, just the three of us. Eli was asleep in the next room. The fireplace was crackling, and I got down on one knee in the middle of a rented cabin. Her hands flew to her mouth, then to my face. And then I was holding her as she said yes over and over. It felt like the beginning of something right. We started planning immediately, nothing extravagant, just a cozy ceremony with close friends and family. She showed me Pinterest boards full of lace and sunflowers. We picked a venue by the lake and talked about a honeymoon road trip with Eli. Something slow and full of good views. Somewhere in those months of planning, she'd say things like, "Eli's so lucky to have you," or "He needs a real father figure." It never felt like pressure, just soft reminders of how much we were becoming a family. I felt honored to be seen that way. I thought I was being invited into something sacred. But sometimes, what feels gentle is just the beginning of a slow squeeze. It was a quiet Tuesday night. We just finished dinner, grilled chicken, Eli's favorite mac and cheese, a few glasses of wine. Eli was in his room watching cartoons, and we were at the table. Finishing up, Rachel looked at me in that careful, measured way she did when something serious was on her mind. "So," she said, tracing the rim of her glass, "have you ever thought about legally adopting Eli? Like, before the wedding?" I blinked, not because I hadn't imagined being a father to him. I had, but the timing caught me off guard. I said something like, "I'd want to talk it through first, make sure it's the right step, for all of us." She nodded, smiling like it was no big deal, but I saw the flicker behind her eyes. A test, maybe. That night, I lay in bed wide awake. I cared deeply for Eli, but adoption is permanent, legal, binding. Even if the marriage failed, I didn't feel ready, not because I didn't love them, but because I wasn't sure if love should ever come with paperwork this soon. I hoped we'd talk more, calmly, rationally. I didn't know that this was just the first of many pushes. The next few weeks, it became a pattern. She brought up the adoption again, first during a drive to Eli's school, then while folding laundry, and later over brunch with her parents. Each time, a little less casual, a little more pointed. "If you really love us, why wait?" she'd ask. With a smile that didn't reach her eyes. One night, after I hesitated again, she went quiet, then whispered, "Eli's starting to notice." He asked me why you don't have the same last name. The guilt hit hard. She said, "It's just paperwork. You already act like his dad." When I tried to slow things down, she changed tactics, compared me to her ex. "He ran too. Maybe I just have a type." That one stung. I told her that wasn't fair, but she just shrugged. I started to notice the timing of her words. When I was tired, distracted, vulnerable, like she was shaping the narrative. If I resisted, she'd pull back affection, go cold, then warm again, like it was all in my head. I wasn't sure anymore if we were building a life, or if I was just being boxed into one. It was my buddy Ethan who finally said something. We were at the hardware store, grabbing parts for a shelving project I never got around to. Finishing. He looked at me, really looked, and said, "Man, you've been tense lately. You good?" I told him everything in the parking lot, about the pressure, the guilt, the subtle digs, about how Rachel kept circling back to the adoption like it was a deadline. Ethan didn't mince words. "Dude, that sounds like a setup. Like she's not asking for a partner. She's locking down a provider." I wanted to argue, defend her, but the words sat in my chest longer than I expected. That night, I spoke to a family lawyer, just a consultation. She laid it out clearly. Once I adopted Eli, I'd be legally responsible, forever. Even if Rachel and I split up, there's no undo button, she said. I drove home in silence, the weight of it pressing down. For the first time, I let myself wonder, was this really about family or securing herself a future? With or without me, it happened by accident. I'd come home early from work, headache, bad day. Just wanted some quiet. The door was ajar, and I heard her in the kitchen on the phone. Her voice was low, clipped. No, he hasn't signed yet. Yeah, I'm working on it. Once it's done, it's locked. Even if we split later, he's on the hook. It's permanent. A pause, then laughter. He's soft. He won't say no. Just needs a little nudge. I didn't move. My hands were cold, my breath shallow. She wasn't talking about love. Or family. Or building something together. She was talking about leverage, about locking me in. I left quietly, went to a nearby park, sat on a bench until sunset. I replayed her words, that laugh, over and over. All this time, I thought I was becoming a father, that I was being invited into something meaningful. But in that moment, I saw the truth. I wasn't the future. I was a strategy. She didn't wait long to escalate. A few days later, we were in the middle of finalizing wedding details when she brought it up again, only this time, it wasn't a question. I need to know you're serious, she said, arms crossed. If you don't adopt Eli before the wedding, then maybe we shouldn't even have one. I looked at her, stunned. You're giving me an ultimatum? She didn't flinch. No, I'm just saying. It's part of the package. We're a family. And if you can't commit to my son, what's the point? I stayed calm, quieter than she expected. I love Eli, I said, but love isn't proven through paperwork or pressure. She scoffed. So that's it? You're backing out? No, I said, standing. I'm setting a boundary. I won't be bullied into a decision that affects the rest of my life. And I won't marry someone who uses a child or love as a bargaining chip. She shouted, called me selfish, cold, a coward. But for the first time in months, I didn't second-guess myself. I just turned and walked out the door. I canceled the wedding the next day, called the venue, the caterer, the photographer, sent emails to friends and family. The reactions were mixed, some shocked, others quietly relieved. I blocked her number, her socials, packed a bag and stayed with Ethan for a week. The silence was painful, but peaceful. What hurt the most wasn't losing Rachel. It was walking away from Eli. He never asked for any of this. He deserved better than to be used as leverage. But deep down, I knew I dodged something dangerous. If I had signed those papers, I'd be legally bound to a child she could weaponize at any moment. Even if we divorced, I'd be paying support for 18 years. And for what? A marriage built on manipulation? Now, months later, I'm slowly rebuilding. Therapy helps. So do morning walks. I still think about Eli, and I hope he's okay. But I've learned this much. Never let guilt guide life-changing decisions. Love isn't proven through ultimatums, and no real family is built on fear. Leaving wasn't just the hardest choice I've made. It was the one that saved my life.